I appreciate you joining us for day 2 of the 2021 Rural Lisk All Virtual Annual Seminar. I am Nadia Villagran, Rural Lisk Program Director for Fund Development and Strategic Partnerships. We have an incredible day planned, and we want to acknowledge the support of our seminar sponsors, who have shown us patience as we navigated planning this gathering this year. I especially want to give a heartfelt thanks to U.S. Bank, who has been a long-standing supporter of LISC and Rural Lisk, and who was one of our very first funders to commit to sponsoring the Rural Lisk seminar, coming in as our Changemaker title sponsor. With us to share a few words is Jeffery Mills. Good morning, Jeff. U.S. Bank Vice President and Social Responsibility Manager. How are you today? If you want to share a few words, Jeff, you can just unmute. Bottom left.
There we are. How about that? It's usually a double mute or something like that. Sorry about that. But
how are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thanks everyone for attending this year's conference. I am Jeff Mills, Community Affairs Manager for U.S. Bank. Quick geography lesson. I cover the what we call our community markets or rural markets in Ohio. So it would be everything in Ohio minus Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, and Dayton. I also have, we have 3 counties around Richmond, Indiana, and I also cover the entire state of Kentucky and the entire state of Tennessee. So it's a large area, but do get around. I'd also like to, I know out there in virtual land, my counterpart, Jeannie Miller, who is housed in Iowa and covers Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minneapolis, and Minnesota. I mention her because she has kind of co-piloted this, our relationship with Rural Lisk. And she's also our coordinator for Main Street America. So you almost have 2 programs that kind of come together and help our individuals in our rural markets. I want to say a quick word to everyone out there. I'm a board president, and everything that you have gone through over the last year and a half or so, I understand. And I talk to my executive director at least bi-weekly, and we talk about do's and don'ts and what we're hearing in the market and so on and so forth. So I know you guys have all gone through that. So I just say congratulations for getting through this, and hopefully we can get things back to normal. I also would like to just say a quick word about U.S. Bank. We have done a great job on turning things around in regards to the social upheavals within our nation right now. We've done a lot with our social responsibility. We've done a lot with our ERG, and we continue to push that forward. We did develop a asset commitment. It's a long-term approach to building wealth and redefining how we do things with our racially communities and our diverse employees. It includes focus on family, small businesses, and our employees. We continue to push forward in all this. But one thing I would like to say in connection with all this is we're bankers, we're technocrats. There's a lot of U.S. banks in your communities. Feel free to give us a call. We, a lot of people just talk about the foundation and getting donations and all that, but it's more, I get more of a thrill out of talking to people or connecting them within the bank for small business needs or tax credit needs and things like that. So feel free to contact me, or if you know Jeannie, or we'll put you in contact with whomever you need to come in contact with. It's a pleasure to be this year's sponsor. Thanks to Rural Lisk, the Rural Lisk Promise, we know that our investment will go where it makes the most impact. We're of course honored and privileged to be the Changemaker sponsor for this 2021 Rural Seminar, partnering for investment in rural America, and presented by us. I thank you.
Thanks to you, Jeff, and thanks to Jeannie. We really appreciate the support that US Bank has provided LISC over our 40+ year history. Thank you so much. And thanks for checking off the unmute.
One more word.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I see Lisa Glover out there, and it's just odd how things come full circle. Lisa actually hired me at the bank, so it's good to see her in this spot, and that we're continuing to our relationship with her and Lisk and Rural Lisk.
Thanks, Jeff. And I've known Jeannie for over 30 years, I think. So hi, Jeannie out there.
Well, I appreciate that, Jeff and Lisa. And we'll get to know Lisa a little bit better now as we move into this next part of this morning. I get the unique opportunity to interview two fearless women who are leading Lisk and Rural Lisk today. Lisa Glover has served as Lisk's president and CEO since February 2021. She has been a member of the Lisk National Board of Directors since 2010 and chair of its audit committee since 2012. An active community leader, she previously served as the chair of Lisk Milwaukee's local advisory committee. Lisk is a former executive vice president at US Bank, as you just heard. She retired in March 2020 after a 33-year career there that included leadership roles in community affairs, risk management, and process improvement and hiring Jeff. So good job there. Lisa holds a BBA in corporate finance from Iowa State University and a Master of Library and Information Science from the University of Wisconsin. We're also going to be hearing from Kate Kane. Kate has been leading Rural Lisk for a little over a year now, which in pandemic terms means nearly a lifetime of hours spent in front of a camera in the comfort of her she shed in New Orleans, rather than on an airplane, I should say, in a hotel room, quiet restaurant, or rural headquarters, having strategic sessions face-to-face with our partners and allies, which I know has been a struggle because she's a traveler. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to interview both of them. And so I have a few questions, so here you go. I'll start with you, Lisa. I hope that's okay.
That's fine.
Tell us, in your view, what is the cornerstone of Lisk's commitment to rural America?
Well, thanks, Nadia. So this year's seminar's theme is really about partnerships, right? And that's what Rural Lisk is all about. Our goal is to invest and support rural people, rural places, and enterprises in rural areas. And it's the collaborations that are forged with community leaders and funders and organizations that make this possible. So we have made $905 million in investments in rural areas, including in affordable housing and other types of community development projects. And we do this in partnership with all sorts of people that are on our seminar here today. We have more than 140 local rural partners, and we're working across 49 states and Puerto Rico. So while those are impressive numbers, there's still a lot more to do, right? So early last year, as was mentioned before, Lisk committed to our Lisk Rural Promise, which is a 3-year commitment to rural America. And our commitment is to have at least 20% of our community development impact in rural America, because it's very important to us. That rural promise really solidifies and builds on more than 25 years of Lisk investment and partnership with rural people and places. So Nadia, that's my answer for you.
That sounds really great, Lisa. Thank you so much. And now, Kate, what resonates with you about Lisk's commitment to rural America and how Rural Lisk is operationalizing that?
Yeah, I think as Lisa had stated earlier, the rural promise is really unique, right? There aren't too many national CDFIs really doing pronounced rural investment around the country in the vast geography in which we're operating in 49 states. So I think what the rural promise really reflects is this amplification for the need for a movement towards rural investment, really a doubling down of commitment, philanthropic commitment, public sector engagement in rural America. And we're seeing that really manifest considerably coming out of the pandemic. I think for the first time in a very long time for where we are right now, we're seeing this kind of rural renaissance, and it's beginning to resonate, and people are really understanding the significance of rural. And so why is rural really important, right? Well, we have 20% of our population resides in rural communities, and a good percentage of our GDP is derived and extracted from these rural communities. Just think about all the natural energy resource extraction that takes place. The agriculture and commodities are both grown and transported throughout all of our rural communities. That is incredibly significant to our regional and national economies. So for all those reasons, rural is incredibly important. And so the way in which we're really taking ownership over the rural promise and really operationalizing our commitment to rural investment is by focusing on 5 key pillars where we think we can move the investment needle. And the way in which Lisk is doing that is by really doubling down on our commitment to access to capital. So that is all of our lending and philanthropic supports to small businesses, community development projects, housing initiatives all throughout the country. And then also really focusing on new and unique programming, including broadband and infrastructure, which we've seen is an incredible need, especially coming out of the pandemic. Workforce development, again, focusing in on opportunities for credentialing and placing individuals in quality jobs throughout the country, regardless of where you happen to live and reside. And the third area of investment that we're focusing in on right now, which seems to be growing, unfortunately, is really disaster recovery, planning, and resilience. We've seen a lot of wildfires on the West Coast and also hurricanes in my area in the deep South and the Southeast. And we're seeing really this accelerating of climatic activity. So much more work to be done in that particular space. And then finally, really focusing on placemaking opportunities, really providing a little bit of seed funding to help communities envision comprehensive planning opportunities and really using arts and culture as a catalyst to drive broader economic development opportunities for the regional communities. So that's really how we are going about our investment for our communities all across the country. And again, as Lisa had noted, we are working in 49 states with 145 of our partner organizations. And what we're really trying to do is within each of those 5 key pillars is also really kind of broach it from a layering strategy. So what we have noticed within many of our rural communities is the capacity issue, right? Really the ability to take on a lot of different initiatives, from workforce to small business supports to housing initiatives. And so as we deploy our community capacity grants, we're really trying to be intentional about cross-layering our supports so that we can really help invest in talent and capacity within that particular community. So if we're doing a financial opportunity center, we might cross-train also for digital navigation or additional small business supports. So we can get that additional leverage point of training up for more entrepreneurs in the local ecosystem and or just small business training that might be needed for general TA. It really runs the gambit. So we're really beginning to see an uptick in the need for that type of capacity support and layering opportunities.
That sounds really great. Thank you, Kate. I guess I would ask Lisa, what excites you about the coming year? I think we're just describing some of the work that Rural's doing. I'm certainly looking forward to what's possible. What are you seeing as potential for the coming year?
Well, Nadia, I'm really excited about the momentum that we have right now, especially with rural investment. So as Kate said, we are really seeing increased interest in digital equities. So particularly in rural areas, the COVID experience taught us a lot of things, right? But it also did shine a light on the importance of digital connectivity, for businesses, for students, for work. It's really important for everybody. And we are seeing that increase interest in equity and digital access, particularly from our partners who are in technology. They see it too. So I'm excited to see where that takes us. As Kate also mentioned, I'm excited about what we can do around climate change. We hear all the time, fires, storms, heat, cold. We've seen it all in the past 18 months. And disaster response is more important than ever. But LISC really wants to get in front of this. So we want to help our rural areas proactively prepare for disaster. And if it strikes, we want to be there to help. So I'm excited really that, we're recently just starting to talk to funders. They're seeing this too, and they're thinking about what they can do to be proactive. So I'm excited as we move into 2022 about that. And then last, of course, our 10X initiative, which is our 10-year commitment to invest $1 billion to close the wealth, health, and opportunity gaps that exist for people of color. 2021 was our first year. We gained great momentum. We had great engagement with our partners that are in our communities and partners that are our funders. So we look forward to pushing forward that important initiative in 2022 as well.
Wonderful. I appreciate that. And Kate, what drives your passion? What are you looking at for the next 12 months?
Yeah, so much of what Lisa has highlighted, it's really this unrelenting desire to really move that economic impact needle for our rural communities, right? And I think, as you had mentioned earlier, I've been with Rural List for a year and a half, kind of enmeshed in my she shed in New Orleans. So it's been very difficult to get out and meet with all of you who I am so eager to meet with and connect with in person in the field. But I think throughout this process, what we've uncovered is just how highly bifurcated our communities are. And even though we've been behind our desktops and our laptops, we've seen this play out to the digital divide and digital equity issues, right? Oftentimes, we also, who should have great connectivity opportunities, have been challenged with our technology. And even more so in our rural and remote areas. So as we're going into the new year and thinking 3-5 years ahead, I couldn't agree with Lisa more so that we really need to invest heavily in digital equity, whether that is the deployment of knowledge and resources, equipment, and various capacity supports to our organizations to help cross-train and provide that level of connection to the communities. Because if we don't do that, we're going to be leaving a generation behind, not just a generation of children, but also that workforce opportunity. And we think about a competitive workforce for the future, we have to solve for the broadband issue if we're going to have a competitive workforce. So that has completely been driving my passion. I know we talk about this all the time within the Rural List community, but one other area, and I think that we really have a novel opportunity to really take the reins of leadership on, and Lisa, you had mentioned this earlier, it's really climate change, right? As I had stated earlier, I live in New Orleans, so we had Hurricane Ida come through and completely decimate so many of our communities, and that's not unique to New Orleans and to Louisiana, unfortunately. And last year we had 5 hurricanes. On the West Coast, we've had just so many wildfires, completely destroying communities, rural and urban alike. And this acceleration of climatic activity is only going to get stronger. And we really need to be positioning ourselves in a unique way to deploy resources to our communities. And I think we're at this great inflection point to kind of sit back and think about what have we been doing in the past in terms of capacity supports for our rural communities that we can tweak so that we can focus more on adaptation and resilience type of opportunities, so that when another disaster hits, whether it's a natural or a man-made disaster, we have the strength in that community to overcome that particular challenge. And that's going to require some pivoting and a whole way of rethinking the way in which we deploy both resources and capacity supports. But I think the CDFI community and LISC in particular is just really well situated to be able to convene conversations around that and to think strategically about how we're really going to adapt for all of these new climatic challenges that lay ahead.
Right. That's such a good point. The one thing I would ask Lisa, bringing up such important factors in what we're dealing with now, you have the unique perspective as a LISC board member and with CEO and through your experiences in banking, how do we ensure that the conversation includes rural when you're looking for investments across the country?
That's a good question, Nadia. And I have one more unique experience. I was born and raised in Boone, Iowa. So I come from a rural community. My first job was not being CEO of Lisk. It was actually walking beans. So I understand the rural experience very well. I think the answer to your question, how do we ensure the conversation includes rural, is very easy. I think we need to be very intentional about our conversations with funders, with people who are in our communities. While conversations and ideas when we're talking to funders often go towards support for urban markets, I find that bringing up investment in rural America is often an aha moment for our funders. They forget about it unless we're intentional about bringing it up. Once we bring it up, they're very excited about what they can bring to those rural areas in their communities. They just need to be reminded to do so. So, like I said, I think it's simple. We just have to keep it on the front burner and keep reminding people that rural is there. And the excitement comes once they have that moment of, yes, that's what we want to do.
Lisa, thank you so much for really your statements on that, because I think it's such a powerful reflection, especially where we are right now, with so much public funding really hitting the streets, right? We talked about this yesterday in a lot of the breakout sessions in terms of the ARPA dollars and CARES Act dollars that are coming to the states and the counties. And as this money is coming down, I think we're kind of assuming that we know what to do with it. There's a rules strategy for the deployment of these sort of funds. So I think your point is incredibly timely. I think now is the point at which we really need to be thinking more comprehensively about a rural investment strategy, whether it's coming from the public agency standpoint or private philanthropy or regional organizations doing comprehensive planning. I think the default really needs to be on, we have to be thinking about rural investments, and we need to really kind of champion out this national strategy and opportunities to do just that. So I can't thank you enough for your leadership behind Lisk and thinking about this and charging the way for us. It's been incredibly exciting. I really look forward to continuing our work together as we really go forth to move the rural promise and investment for rural America. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate.
And Nadia, thank you for serving as moderator for all of this. I know it's always kind of fun to turn the tables and be able to interview your bosses. You did a great job. So thank you again for being able to step in and have this conversation with us today. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. My pleasure. It was great.